Speakers, publishers, consultants, coaches, and info marketers unite. The Speaking of Wealth Show is your roadmap to success and significance. Learn the latest tools, technologies, and tactics to get more bookings, sell more products, and attract more clients. If you're looking to increase your direct response sales, create a big-time personal brand, and become the go-to guru, the Speaking of Wealth Show is for you. Here's your host, Jason Hartman.
Welcome to the Speaking of Wealth Show. This is your host, Jason Hartman, where we discuss profit strategies for speakers, publishers, and consultants. If you're an aspiring infopreneur, this show is for you. If you want to turn your knowledge, your experience, and your life skills into publishable materials, or if you're already a successful author, speaker, publisher, we can make you more successful here at the Speaking of Wealth Show as we interview great guests, experts in the industry on all sorts of topics related to this. So today we have an interview with Bryan Caplovitz. He is the founder of SpeakerMatch, a very successful industry website that matches speakers with bureaus, associations, and various speaking gigs. I think you'll enjoy this show, and we will be back with Bryan in just a moment.
What's great about the shows you'll find on jasonhartman.com is that if you want to learn about investing in and managing income properties for college students, there's a show for that. If you want to learn how to get noticed online and in social media, there's a show for that. If you want to know how to save on life's largest expense, there's a show for that. And if you'd like to know about America's crime of the century, there's even a show for that. Yep, there's a show for just about anything, only from jasonhartman.com, or type in Jason Hartman in the iTunes store.
It's my pleasure to welcome Bryan Caplovitz to the show. He is the head of SpeakerMatch.com. You are probably familiar with SpeakerMatch. It's the industry's leading site, and it's sort of an online speakers bureau, but not really a speakers bureau, I don't think. Bryan, maybe you can clear that up for us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Sure, I'll start out with that speakers bureau question because I get asked that a lot. And I consider us to be a speakers bureau. A speakers bureau helps a meeting planner to find a speaker for their event. We don't operate as a traditional speakers bureau in that we don't help a meeting planner deal with the logistics of contracts and negotiating the deal with the speaker. We put the meeting planner directly in touch with the speaker, and so that's one thing that makes us a lot different. And the second thing is that we don't take any commissions for booking a speaker, so the speaker gets to keep whatever they make through the speaking engagement that they secure. So we're a little bit different. I think that it's kind of similar to a travel agent and an online travel site. So
good distinction. Good distinction. Yeah. So when most speakers think of bureau, they think 25, 30% commission, or maybe 20% commission, whatever the number is in there. And so SpeakerMatch is different. It's a great platform. You've just done an excellent job for it. You have a real bird's eye view on the industry because your customers are speakers, or they're aspiring speakers, emerging speakers. What makes a good speaker? What makes a bad speaker from how they approach the business?
I think that it helps if a speaker looks at themselves as an entertainer. Ultimately, what a meeting planner wants is a good entertainer. They want somebody who is going to keep their audience interested, somebody who's going to be fun and exciting and motivational, someone who is definitely not boring. They don't want somebody who's going to read from PowerPoint slides or from their notes or hold on to the lectern and, we're just really, trying to work off their nerves. They want somebody who's going to put on a good show. Ultimately, the meeting planner is looking for somebody who makes them look good, and they want somebody that the audience is going to enjoy.
Now, I'm just curious, when you mention meeting planners, are meeting planners and associations, are they members of SpeakerMatch as well, or do they just use it as a resource, or do they have like a more formal engagement with the site?
We have a very broad definition for meeting planner. There are definitely professional meeting planners, and they spend their day every day helping people plan meetings. They take care of dealing with caterers and hotels and florists and all that kind of stuff. But the great majority of meeting planners, at least in our definition, are not people who are professionally doing this. They're not usually even doing this for the money, certainly not doing meeting planning or booking speakers for money. So what we have is people that are maybe secretaries, or assistants to a sales professional at an organization. Their boss might tell them that they need to bring somebody in to speak to the sales team, so they'll do a little searching for a speaker. Volunteers for associations and church groups and youth groups and people who work in schools. Finding a speaker is just a very, very small part of their job. Like I said, most of the people that are looking for speakers are volunteers. So they may be volunteering for an organization, charity, or a association of some sort, but they're typically not employees of those organizations.
What resources does someone need to get started as a speaker? I've been to so many NSA conventions over the years and to so many different speaker-type events and educational events, and certainly many of the people there are true career professionals that are really engaged in the business. And some of them are just sort of the dreamer type, and maybe they will execute on their dream. Hopefully they will. But it's sort of like a real mixed bag. You come from people that are they call themselves a speaker because they did maybe a talk once at the local Rotary Club, to big professionals that have got loads of corporate engagements or they're doing public seminars. It's all over the board, isn't it? I mean, what does someone need to get started?
Well, I think that the most important thing that they have, other than the ability to perform well in front of an audience, so they have to have that baseline of being a good speaker or performer, is that they need to have some kind of expertise. Well, I guess the expertise really helps, but maybe even above that is being able to relate your expertise in a way that an audience can relate to. So delivery is one thing, and being a good storyteller is another thing. I think that it's important that you know how to deliver your content. And outside of the performance, I guess the other thing that a speaker needs to have in the way of resources is marketing prowess, because ultimately what this comes down to is being able to convince a meeting planner that you are the ideal candidate for their opportunity.
Obviously, having their own website is a good idea, but a first place to get started is a site like yours, I think. People always want to know, how lucrative is the profession? And that's all over the board. We both know that. But what can a typical speaker expect to earn if they're out there making it all happen?
A very common misconception is that a lot of people get rich from making money speaking on the platform, and that is just a fallacy. Most people do not make a lot of money in the speaking profession through speaking fees alone. I think that it's very similar to what people might be more familiar with in the acting industry. You have a lot of actors who may be very talented, very good at their profession, and there's certainly a lot of acting jobs out there, but most actors are working in restaurants or somewhere else hoping for their big break. The money just isn't coming from performing, and it's very similar in the speaking world. There are absolutely exceptions. Entertainers and athletes, pro athletes, politicians, and other people that are celebrity speakers can make very big bucks. Those are the ones that most people hear about, where people are making $10,000, $100,000 for a speech.
Colin Powell, Bill Clinton, those would be good examples, right?
Right. Steve Forbes, they're making big money. And yeah, Colin Powell, Bill Clinton can make $100,000 or more for one engagement. And one of the highest paid speakers out there is Bill Cosby, and he supposedly charges $375,000 for a 1 hour talk.
I had no idea. That's incredible.
It's a lot of money, but most speakers I've met have speaking fees. Well, I'm sorry, most professional speakers, people who say that they're earning a living through professional speaking, are earning speaking fees somewhere between $2,500 and $10,000 for a 1 hour keynote or after dinner speech. And that may seem like a very high hourly rate compared to other professions, but the value of the speaker really just doesn't come from his or her time on the stage. The value comes from the long-term impact on the audience. So great speakers have the ability to permanently change your thinking and your behavior in a very short period of time, and that is such a rare and important skill that it actually makes the speaking fee a bargain for many people. But the speaking professionals who are really making a lot of money through their speaking business are looking at speaking as a business, and they're earning their money in consulting fees and in other ways in addition to that platform fee.
So it's kind of like authors. Writing a book is not very lucrative for many people. The celebrities do well with books alone, but using that as a platform for other products or services can be a great thing, can it?
It can be fantastic. Having speaking as part of your platform, part of your marketing platform is great because you can reach a lot of people, and just by the fact that you're speaking in front of an audience, people believe that you are an expert. They believe that you are somebody worth listening to. You're up there on the stage in front of them, so obviously you must be somebody important who knows what he's talking about.
Sure.
And it's very similar to somebody who writes a book. You know, if you wrote a book, you must know something about it, right?
So that's the podium effect. Good thing. So in terms of topics, I mean, I think I'll answer this question and then you can add to it, but I hear a lot of speakers, Bryan, say, on what topic should I speak? What's popular? Well, my answer to that is you should speak on what you know. Don't pick a topic because it's hot necessarily, but you can take your own experience, knowledge, and expertise and sort of modify it or tweak it a little bit to be related to popular topics. So I guess my first question then there is, what topics are really popular for speakers?
That is a very good point, and that's also something that we get asked a lot. What topic should I talk about? And this is the really interesting thing. When meeting planners come to us and ask us for a speaker, they very rarely ask us for a specific topic. What they can tell us is who their audience is and what the makeup is. So they can tell us that it's 50% men, 50% women. They can tell us the age range and how much people make and what their job titles are. And usually what they tell us is that they want a speaker who is going to be interesting for their audience. So the topic really doesn't matter that much. You could be talking about etiquette or sales skills. You could be talking about just about anything as long as it's interesting to the audience. And what I think that most meeting planners are doing is picking a speaker based on the title of their talk rather than the content. Usually what they'll tell me is that they want somebody, who's interesting for their audience, and then they add on to that. They say maybe somebody who is motivational, inspirational. Again, going back to that entertaining thing. They want somebody who's going to be fun for their audience. So when I say that it's like a book title, think about what happens if you go to the bookstore and you are looking for a book on organization skills. So your desk is a mess, your office is a mess, you need some help, and you go to the bookstore, you look on the shelf, in the section of the bookstore that says organizing, and you have titles that say how to get organized, organizing 101, another one may say how to organize your office. Well, there's a little bit more of a hit because that's what you're looking for. Another title says, I'm ready to burn my desk and start over again. Maybe that will hit better with some people. But there are some titles that are going to make you take that book and pull it off the shelf and look at it a little bit closer. Maybe you'll look at the back of the book and look at testimonials, see what other people have said. Maybe you'll look at the author's picture. That's what the speaker's doing. By putting together a good title, they are encouraging the meeting planner to look a little bit deeper. They want to read more about that talk and see a little description about it. Then maybe they'll look at the picture of the speaker. Maybe they'll look a little bit further and see how much the speaker charges and when they're available. But what's catching their attention in the first place is that title.
And can you give us any examples of good titles? When you say that, I certainly can think of them as far as books go. I mean, the books can vary in quality, but the titles are such good zingers. Chicken Soup for ... Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Harvey Mackay's titles are so darn clever. The long titles, Beware of the Naked Man Who Offers You the Shirt Off His Back, Swim with the Sharks, etc. In terms of speeches, though, any great titles that come to mind?
Well, I happen to have somebody's card on my desk right now. This is Liz Franklin, who is an organization expert, and her title is How to Get Organized Without Resorting to Arson. So that's one that works really well. We have a speaker who was getting a lot of requests a while ago. I haven't really paid too much attention to see how he's doing now, but his title was Never Show Up Naked to a Job Interview. Again, it's just a title. It doesn't say that this is a motivational talk. It doesn't say that this is a talk about economics or anything else. It's a title that grabs attention so that the meeting planner will look a little bit further.
Sure, yeah, those are good. What kind of presentations are in demand? Are they keynotes? Are they workshops? Do you want to kind of just quickly distinguish the different types of speaking engagements that are available to speakers?
The most requested type of talk is probably that I guess that keynote talk. So generally a keynote is anywhere from, about 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And that is story time. So that is the speaker up in front of an audience, hopefully telling some good stories, not necessarily much audience interaction at all, not really a question and answer session or anything like that. It's just a show that the audience can go watch. And that's what most people are usually talking about when they're bringing in a speaker. But in addition to that, there's things that lean more towards training. Some of the sessions are more interactive, but generally a speaker request is for a keynote speaker.
Let me take a brief pause. We'll be back in just a minute.
Jason offers an Inner Circle coaching program. This includes 2 30-minute coaching sessions for only $247 a month. For more details, go to jasonhartman.com.
And any guidance on fees? Fees are all over the board, and one thing I do want to mention is that when I was getting started in the speaking business many years back, and I was an NSA member for about 10 years, and I noticed that in the old days, if your fee wasn't high enough, you wouldn't get enough bookings. And part of that was driven, I think, by the speakers bureaus. A lot of speakers felt that way, that if you didn't have a high enough fee, there wasn't a decent commission on that fee. So that could actually hurt you by setting your fee too low. Any guidance on fees for speakers?
I think that more and more meeting planners are going to the internet now to look for a speaker, and they are definitely price shopping. There are speakers now that post their fees online. I think that a good majority of speakers are posting their speakers online. That does not mean that National Speaker Association members are posting their fees. Most of them don't. But the majority of speakers are not members of the National Speakers Association. Generally, the NSA speakers, the professional speakers, are making $1,500 and up for a speech. And to be a member, they need to be speaking, I think it's 25 times a year to maintain their membership. It's 25 times a year or earning a minimum of $25,000 a year in speaking fees.
Right, so at least there's some criteria for it. That's good.
Right, so the majority of speakers, though, are outside of that category. A lot of people that are speaking are experts in some subject matter area, but they may be speaking once or twice a year, and they're just looking for a free trip every once in a while or something like that. Sometimes there are people in a local area that speak very regularly, but they're just building their business. So you may have a financial planner who goes to networking meetings around the city, and they're speaking every week somewhere, but it's not to a big audience and definitely not for a big fee. That's the greatest percentage of speakers, is people like that are just out there sharing their expertise and trying to build their business in some way. So as far as setting fees, those people are not making anything. As you go into the different levels where a meeting planner would be willing to pay a fee, most of the meeting planners who are paying less than $1,500 have very low expectations. So they expect those speakers that are going to go and read from PowerPoint slides and hold on to the lectern. So they're easy to negotiate with as far as getting fees, but typically they have something set. So they'll tell you that they have $100 or $500 to spend on a speaker, and that's what they'll spend. But I guess to get back to your question about how do you set your fees in the first place, I think that anywhere between $500 and $1,000 to $1,500, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think just any kind of fee in there is fine, because you can probably negotiate up or down without any kind of complaint from a meeting planner. If you post your fee at $1,000, but you're willing to work for $500 because it's a local event, I don't think that it sounds unreasonable. Once you get up to the $1,500 level, then there are pretty definite points that, stopping points. You have $1,500, $2,500, $5,000, $7,500, and $10,000. And there are not many people that have fees in between those different set points. So if you're setting your fee and you're in one of those higher fee ranges, I think what you need to look at is the kind of audience that you're speaking to and the kind of meeting planners that you're typically working with or the kind of audiences you're typically working with. And probably best rule of thumb that I can come up with is to look at the size of the audience that you'll be speaking to and come up with a price per head that you think makes sense for the amount of entertainment you'll be giving them. So if you're going to be speaking for about an hour and there are a couple thousand people in the room, $15 a head for an hour of entertainment, $20 a head is perfectly reasonable for most meeting planners, and that's how they're looking at it. So that may be a substantial speaking fee. If you have 2,000 people and you're getting $20 a head, that's a $40,000 speaking fee. And if you're willing to negotiate a little bit in there and go down, $20,000, $10,000 is a bargain for the meeting planner.
That's a good way to look at it, and I agree with you completely. An aspiring speaker who's maybe doing the low-paying gigs, they're charging $1,500 or even $1,000 for a talk. At what point do they decide to, hey, I'm going to quit my day job? Now, the one distinction is a lot of these speakers are really promoting their day job with it. So it's the example of the local lawyer or the CPA who promotes their business by doing these little speaking engagements, and it's great because they get clients that way, financial planners, real estate people, whatever. But if they really want to get into the speaking business and make it their business, is there a certain point at which they know they can quit their day job, as the saying goes?
That's always a tough one, whether or not to move ahead in any business. If you're a small business owner, especially if you're working somewhere else and you start a business on the side, when do you let go of that safety net? I don't know that I have a really good answer for that, because even if you're getting booked on a very regular basis, you're getting booked once or twice a month and things are going pretty well, even though you're not putting your full effort into it, there's no guarantee that it's going to stay like that. The market could change. People might not be interested in your topic. If you're talking about cleaning up after natural disasters or something like that, it may be really big, in the wake of the BP oil spill, but that may die down after a little while. If you have a book that you wrote and you got a lot of good press and Oprah covered it, you'll ride a wave for a while, but it starts to die down if you're not handling it just right. So I think that there are a lot of things about running a sustainable speaking business that you need to be sure you really understand. Running a sustainable business in any way, just understanding marketing and accounting and all the other things that go into a business are really important before you decide to quit your day job. You may be doing well earning those speaking fees, but once you decide to make it a real business, there's a lot more involved.
Good point. In terms of materials, marketing materials, what does a speaker need? I find that there are sort of two types of people here. There are those who just kind of run out and go get as many gigs, and they may do a great job speaking, and their materials come later, if ever, sometimes. And then there are those who really want to have all the materials just right. Website, press kit, one sheet, a demo video, maybe a book. What materials do they really need, and any advice on those materials?
I do have some advice on marketing, and I get a lot of feedback from some of my speakers and other experts that I talk to that don't agree with me, because I look at this differently than I think a lot of people do. I think the Internet is great. I love the Internet. I love electronic stuff. Email is fantastic, especially when you're talking about saving money and building a business without spending a lot of money. It's really great to be able to do so much, to build a web page and have video on there and audio and all that stuff. You can do some Facebook campaigning. You can have a page on LinkedIn with all your information. All that electronic stuff is great. But this technology, as the technology becomes more available, more readily available to everybody, and it costs less and less for everybody to use it, it makes it harder for any one speaker to stand out. So where I disagree with most of my colleagues, or I would probably say most of my colleagues, is that I still prefer direct mail. I wouldn't say direct mail instead of all of the other things online. I think all of the things you need to do online are a expected level of service or a level of marketing that you do. You have to keep up with all those other things. If you're talking to a meeting planner and they ask you to send them something right away, it's great when you can tell them to go to your website and download your one sheet and look at your information. They can watch a sample of you performing. They expect that. But what's really going to set you apart is having some great direct mail pieces. And I think that it is well worth spending some money getting a nice package put together. And a nice package means a nice folder, slick folder with some color brochures and papers printed on slick paper, have different size papers, not just things that you ran off your printer on 8.5 by 11, even if it means getting a paper cutter and cutting some different sizes yourself, using different colors and sizes and paper textures. All those things make a difference. Enclosing a DVD or including a DVD still makes an impression on people, and the lumpy mail kinds of things that direct mail or direct response marketers encourage help. So sending a mug to somebody or a T-shirt puts you in a different category as far as they're concerned. You can get that whole package put together, the marketing or the media kit done pretty inexpensively at Kinko's or something, and inexpensive maybe $6, $7, $10 for a package. But I don't think that you need to send those packages to 1,000 people and just send them out there and hope that one of them hits the right way. I think that you need to use the technology that you have to make sure that you're marketing correctly to the right people. If there's a meeting planner that shows some interest in what it is that you have to offer, then spend some money on them. So as far as what goes into that, real quick, what you need to make sure that you have is testimonials, client list. You need to have a photo, you need to have your topic ideas, and you need to have your fee structure.
Good. You've got a whole bunch of speakers listed on your website. What are some of the craziest topics you've seen? We talked about topics a few minutes ago. What are some really wild and crazy ones?
Well, one of the most popular speakers we ever had delivered his speeches using the persona of Teddy Roosevelt. So he spoke as Teddy Roosevelt would today, and it always fascinated me that people would be drawn to him as much as they were. He looked like him, he acted like him, he spoke like him, and that was the way he delivered his talk. So I thought that was very interesting. We had, the Teddy Roosevelt was Keith McGow. Robert Van de Castle was somebody else. He studied dreams in the laboratory, in the classroom, in the hospital, in the library, among indigenous people, in workshop settings. He was referred to as the King of the Dreamers. And very unusual topic, not something that meeting planners, again, would ask for. They were looking for something that would be interesting to their audience, and it's not like people have a convention or a conference for dreamers, but it was a very in-demand kind of topic, so different.
So any more qualifications that meeting planners are looking for, maybe some examples of the good speakers doing it right and the worst speakers doing it poorly out there, anything like that?
Like I was telling you before, most meeting planners are not professional meeting planners. They don't know what they're doing. They may be volunteering for, a charity or something, and they're part of a committee that's trying to find a speaker. So what they're looking for is something that makes it really easy for them, and that's really what somebody who's looking to become a speaker needs to look at. Put together a good marketing package that you can send them in the mail and help them to do their job so they don't have to do all the thinking. Give them a sample contract. Any kind of guarantee you can offer is fantastic, and the guarantee could be that, if they're not satisfied, then you'll get their money back. It could also mean that you'll follow up with everybody in their audience with your electronic newsletter for the next year, that you guarantee that if they don't like it, you'll come back and do it again, or speak to another audience for them, or you'll come on the next day and deliver a talk for them. I guess that kind of goes into bonuses. Let them know how they can make extra money. So if you have a book, if you regularly sell your book for $10, at the back of the room, you can offer to sell them in advance all of your books at $5 a piece, and they can sell them in the back of the room for $10 a piece and keep the profit. Include your hotel, airfare, travel expenses. So an all-inclusive budget definitely helps. Just anything like that where you're helping them to do their job and think through some of the things they might not have thought through before are going to put you way above everybody else, just because not too many people are doing these things.
Hey, last question for you, Bryan. What can a speaker do if they bomb with an audience? If they just mess up, if something doesn't go well, can they fix it? Is there anything they can do?
Not every speaker is going to be a winner, but that's one of the elements that makes live shows so exciting. In general, you have something to talk about with your attendees no matter how well a speaker does. You can minimize your risk by properly screening a speaker, but honestly, even speakers with a proven track record fail sometimes. I mentioned Bill Cosby before, and I went to an event once where he was the main speaker, and let's just say that he failed to meet my expectations. So it happens. But if a speaker fails, it doesn't mean that you as a meeting planner need to swear off hiring speakers again. And if you're a speaker, it doesn't mean that you'll never get hired again. Just use it as a learning experience and do your best to make the best of it. Follow up appropriately. And if you had any guarantees or anything you could offer the meeting planner to make it up to them, then use that to your advantage.
Good point. Well, Bryan Caplovitz, thank you so much for joining us today. The website is SpeakerMatch.com. I'd highly recommend it. You're doing a great job with that site, and we appreciate having you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Here's your chance to catch up on all of those Creating Wealth shows that you've missed. There's a 3-book set with shows 1 through 60, all digital download. You save $94 by buying this 3-book set. Go ahead and get these advanced strategies for wealth creation. For more details, go to jasonhartman.com. Copyright the Hartman Media Company. For publication rights and interviews, please email media@jasonhartman.com. This show offers very general information. Opinions of guests are their own. Nothing contained herein should be considered personalized, personal, financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. Every investor's strategy and goals are unique. You should consult with a licensed real estate broker or agent or other licensed investment, tax, and/or legal advisor before relying on any information contained herein. Information is not guaranteed. Please call 714-820-4200 and visit www.jasonhartman.com for additional disclaimers, disclosures, and questions.